Hey, folks, how you doing? It's your man, Tim Black. Welcome back to the Tim Black Show. I'm very happy today to have a special guest, Reverend Mark Thompson. Give it up for him, yo.
Hey, Thank you for having me, brother.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure to have you, man. It's an honor, frankly.
Thank you.
Mark, just get right into it, man. Before we get started, though, I want my people to know I've been telling them about you coming on the show. Could you give them a little primer, tell them briefly what your background is and what brings you to broadcasting?
Well, I have always been a journalist going back to my high school days in the student newspaper, going to my Georgetown undergraduate days and writing about them divesting from South Africa and getting in trouble for doing that. In 1988, the legendary Kathy Hughes invited me to WOL before there was even a Radio 1, WOL AM. Where P.D. Green and others got their start, and asked me to join her operation, and I did that. And I've been doing radio ever since, now doing podcasting like everybody else is, but have always found it necessary to fuse my activism with journalism, and really have tried to use the airwaves to educate, organize, and mobilize people, not just to report, but to actually, mobilize people to get involved in improving the condition of our people.
When you said WOL, you already had me there, man. Growing up in the D.C. area, Donnie Simpson, Kathy Hughes. In fact, the first radio appearance I ever made was on WOL. I think they were already Radio 1. I'd written some books. I self-published a couple of books, and we wrote Kathy Hughes, man, and she actually responded, and she actually invited me down to the radio station. Now, it's not my fault, but I was on the radio with Armstrong Williams. I disagree with him. I was only 18, but I still disagree.
I actually know Armstrong. We're both very cordial to each other. Mm-hmm. And later in life, I defended Armstrong. You may recall when the Bush administration decided to kind of throw him under the bus, like they always do with Black Republicans. All you folks want to run around and be Black Republicans. They eventually use you up too. And they came for Armstrong. And I defended him. I said, this is my point. Here's somebody who's been loyal to this party, and yet they still are mistreating him. And he kind of sent a message how he appreciated what I had said. So Armstrong has done a lot to rehabilitate himself. He's not the worst of Black Republicans. He and I fell out originally over Clarence Thomas, who is the worst. Okay. Although the other day, now he's saying there's no point in having federal laws criminalizing marijuana. It's unclear whether he means that from a point of view of the way we mean it, or whether he means it in terms of, which I think he means this in the latter fashion. It's an issue where he feels some of the state laws are making the federal laws obsolete. I don't think he's that progressive. He never has been, so we don't have any reason to think he is now. But then I hear that his wife has investments in private marijuana interests too. Hello, but I digress. Armstrong and I first had issues around that, and he was big on Justice Thomas because he's from South Carolina, and he was all caught up in the Strom Thurmond, Clarence Thomas, Strom Thurmond thing, which was pretty sickening to me and to many others at the time. But since that time, I've defended him. I don't, discount anybody's right to be heard. And Armstrong, after all, isn't like he isn't Jesse Lee Peterson. He isn't quite Larry Elder. He's on the spectrum, but those two guys are really out of control. And Jesse Lee Peterson, he's had me on his show, but it ends up being a comedy, a comedic type of thing, because he's so ridiculous, and I'm so in shock about the things he said. He had me on the show once, brother, and said, Black women talk too much. I said, you can't say that with me sitting up here and expect me to live, so I'm going to repudiate you right now. Right. But it's okay. You're fine. You on WL, whether you went on Armstrong or not, it doesn't really matter. You who you are, and anytime you speak up, people want to hear and know what you have to say.
And that I appreciate that, and I accept that graciously as you presented it, brother. I went on Jesse Lee Peterson as well, and he was a comedy show. It was a comedy show with him. I didn't take him seriously. Yeah. He tried to push my buttons. I wouldn't let him do it. What do you have you ever had Jesse Lee on your show?
Yeah, he's been on me before.
Okay.
And I honestly, I confess, I'm transparent about this. I had him on a couple of times for comic relief myself. I wanted people to see how he behaved, and a lot of folks thought it was funny, because he's so outrageous,
right?
So out of control. I mean, he says things that it's funny because it's hard to believe a man who looks like you and me has the disdain for his own people that he had, but he says it in such a way. It's really almost stereotypical. As a matter of fact, if Jesse were to show up one day and say, "Psych, I was just doing this to show how outrageous the other side really is and how they really feel about black people," I'd believe him. Because he says some things, black people are here, black people don't have the love of God. So I don't know what he's up to. But just like you, it ends up being something funny.
Sort of like if you find out he was doing like a Stephen Colbert, where he played a conservative to kind of just like satirically to imitate them, for laughs, and I would get that. In fact, I'd be relieved if that was the case, man. But I don't want to spend too much time on him. I don't have much time with you. Qualified immunity, Reverend Thompson. I've been very passionate about this issue. I even spent some time just recently discussing it with my audience, and some of our audience are very engaged politically, but now that I'm expanding, I'm reaching for people that are mostly apolitical but want changes. And I tell them, even if you're turned off to politics, realize that changes like ending qualified immunity require engagement politically. That's how you change that. What are your thoughts about ending qualified immunity, and how do you think we get there? Do we get there with this current president?
Well, it's really not so much the president as it is the Congress. And I think what we're finding is, everybody did their job. We all voted, we got out to vote. But as long as you have a filibuster and you have the likes of Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, you have a problem. So do I think if Joe Biden could just do it, would he do it? I have reason to believe he would, but he's trying to work with the Congress as well, and ultimately it is their decision. I'm not sure how we get to it immediately. I think we get to it by staying engaged. See, here's the plan. They want the Republicans want November 2020 and January 2021 to just be anomalies. It's just unusual because we really don't vote. Black folk don't care. So if they can suppress enough of the vote, discourage us enough, we'll go back to the way things were before 2020 November and before 2021 January and not show up, and they maintain control. Here's a challenge for us, and this is where we have to be very, very careful about this. As frustrated as people are, as much as people feel things not moving quickly enough, we're not done. We have got to get more seats in the House and Senate so we can get the things we want. And that takes a level of patience. We live in a society today that is about instant gratification. We want to tweet something, Brother Tim, and have instantaneous results. That ain't the way the world works. So tweeting all that is fine, getting upset is fine, but we have got to start preparing for 2022 to get more seats in the Senate so we can get rid of the filibuster once and for all, and therefore end qualified immunity. It's not just about ending qualified immunity, it's about changing the process, using our votes to change and upgrade the process away from the filibuster in order to get to the qualified immunity. That's really what we're up against. And I mean, that's going to take some discipline and some patience. And like I said, it's called Instagram for a reason. Instant. That is the way in which we live and function, but it's not realistic. And if we look back at our history, I mean, all the things that were achieved, the great things that were achieved during the civil rights movement didn't happen overnight. It may seem like that looking back through the lens of history or flipping through a web page. But it's going to take some time, some discipline, and we don't have to wait on Congress. See, the other thing I like to say is those of you who want to do real police reform, police are governed locally, not nationally. So that means some of us need to get right in the trenches in our very own towns and cities and hold the police accountable, hold even Democratic politicians, Black politicians accountable who coddle the police. You in a local city can end qualified immunity tomorrow if you organize and mobilize people in that city. Again, let's go back to Dr. King. Brother Tim, what did he win a Nobel Prize for? Being a national leader or for leading a movement in Montgomery in one city? We want to be a national, I'm a national leader. I got a national profile. I got a national Twitter account. All politics is local, and police especially are governed locally. Also governed locally are boards of elections. So the struggle is local. Now, is that glamorous? Is that get you on national television? Maybe not. But are we about that, or are we about really making real change? So we need people with that level of discipline. Dr. King gave us the template. We need to follow it. Local struggle is where we need to be. You can change the police department. You can change the voting system. All of those down ballot races are important to that. Redistricting, that's at the local level. And so we have to engage that and figure out a way to make that work for us.
That's very strong. It's similar. A couple things you hit on there are things that we've been discussing. It's right in my monologues in my show. But I want to go to Joe Biden quickly and say, just push back a little bit. Yeah, I'm not totally convinced that Joe Biden is on board with us with reforming the police. Definitely not with defunding the police, which is just a reallocation. It's like a lot of the Democrats seem to be going with the narrative that we want to end policing. I don't think the majority of us do. We just want to reimagine the police. We want to spend some money in different ways to get different outcomes, because just throwing bodies at crime and throwing bodies in our communities, biased bodies at that, doesn't seem to be having the desired effect that we want. Maybe it's the desired effect of the state officials who want to fill prisons, depending on how you feel about that. But my thing is, looking at Joe Biden's track record, I just don't see evidence of him trying to de-escalate or him trying to be against police in any way that's tangible for voters. So he could lean on Joe Manchin. He could publicly drag Kyrsten Sinema, Reverend, if he really wanted, I feel, to push them. That's what the bully pulpit's for.
I mean, to be fair, he has called him out. He called him out when he was in Tulsa. He called them both by name, to be fair. Now, whether he dragged them, maybe not, but he did call them out. And that was considered pretty monumental for a president to do under those circumstances. Not enough, I agree with you. Here's what's happening. These political parties and politicians have now become absorbed by the consultant class. So the consultants say, defund is a bad word, because they're caught up in the individual buzzwords. What the consultants don't say, the reality is the word defund didn't hurt Democrats and inspired more young people to get out and vote for Democrats.
Right.
Not to mention, Brother Tim, the Democrats didn't come up with the term defund. So why do you need to apologize and run from a word you didn't create? That's in the streets. Let the streets do what the streets do. And that's what I tried to settle. And it was a couple of Democratic politicians who got to say, hey, yo, that's the streets. Let the streets do what the street do. We didn't got to apologize for that or go explain that or do anything like that. That's insane. We've been dealing with that for years around the word reparations. We're dealing with that right now. HR 40 has almost 200 co-sponsors. Oh, Mark, we scared because it's going to hurt the midterm. Midterm's a year and a half away. So we doing this now. Because then in 2022, you say, oh, the presidential election. No, you're going to keep always having an excuse. We've never had this many co-sponsors for HR 40. Vote for it, let it pass, let's roll. But Biden listens to those consultants too. They tell them what is trending, what isn't trending. And yet these consultants never have an answer for what the right wing does. They can never give any advice about how to stop their rhetoric or the things they do to really harm people. Like, what are we going to do about the attack on critical race theory? These consultants only can get money to tell us when we say defund or reparations or anything like that. Oh, it's scary, don't say that. But it's not scary. It's as if saying that is equal to saying we don't need to study critical race theory? Saying that is equal, saying defund and reparations is in any way equal to the racist things that come out of Republicans' mouths. But see, people get caught up in things, consultants. And these people don't know squat. They need to listen to the streets. You also really, Tim, insult the intelligence of the population when you're a consultant or a Democratic politician and say defund turns people off. You're assuming that people take it literally. Most people know what we mean when we say defund. Most people know that. And you're right. Most of us don't want to abolish, but that's not the word. Abolish is not as popular a word as defund. But watch this. For all of you who are scared of defund and abolish, watch this. Watch this, brother. Black folks say older black people say they want the police to protect them even from younger black folk. So I want everyone under the sound of me and Tim's voices, ask yourself, when was the last time you heard of an African-American calling the police about a crime committed against them and the police addressing the issue and solving the crime? So not only are we as taxpayers, as African-Americans, paying and funding police departments to kill us when we're unarmed and innocent, they ignore us. What was the song Public Enemy had? 911 is a joke.
911 is a joke.
They ignore us when we're murdered, our cars are stolen, our houses are broken into, when hundreds of thousands of black women go missing every day. They don't even bother. When was the last time? Watch, I'll tell you something else too. We know who's out here slinging. We know who the criminals are. When was the last time you saw a video? You talk about breaking news. When was the last time you saw a video of the police running up in one of them spots where the slingers are and trying to get them? Armed people. You never seen no shootout with them. You don't see them shoot unarmed people. They ain't gonna go after the real people. And you know why? Again, this is our tax dollars. Almost half of the people out here slinging that people are afraid of have become confidential informants. That's what the police department does. They don't convict people, they go flip them, Tim. And so then that's our taxpayer dollars going in. So you have a police department that is actually subcontracting some of the crime. So we don't need to talk about defund. And whenever I say to the people, they say, wow, I never thought about that. When's the last time you had a crime solved in your community? Number one. And have you thought about the fact, how many people out there did you see as criminals, who they really working for? Because you never see a shootout with a criminal, a real criminal. And there's brothers out here now. There's some folks out here that if the police got in a shootout with them live on television, nobody would cry about it. You hear me, brother? You know that.
I do.
But you never see that. You never see. We know who this dude is. Let's run up on him. We know who he's been knocking upside the head. We're not going to touch him, though. We're going to stop Tim and Mark in the car and shoot them in the head, though. I'm sorry. You shouldn't have got me started on that. I'm sorry. I'm carrying on too much.
No, man. I appreciate how candid you are, man, with your analysis, brother. That's a refreshing point of view. But I realize you are an activist and a journalist, so you have opinions about issues. You don't just report the news and this is what happened and blah blah. No, you actually have a point of view and an ideology behind that, and that you base your awareness and your journalism on. So, racial wealth gap in ADOS. I can't let you go without talking about that. Average black family worth 10% of the average white family. Average black college graduate less wealth than the average white high school dropout. And people don't understand why we need reparations.
Yeah.
What say you, Reverend?
Right, but no, you're absolutely right. And we are centuries behind catching up. When we talk about HR 40, which is legislation to establish a commission to study what proposals can come forth on what forms plural reparations could take, that's important. So that's where ADOS and I disagree. The ADOS movement is pushing for individual checks for those who can prove they are descendants of what they call slaves. First of all, we don't call ourselves slaves anymore. We are descendants of enslaved people. Our history didn't begin with slavery. We were great kings and queens and builders of civilization in Africa. So that's the first thing. The individual check thing is fine, but that can't be it. You see, white folks, the middle class didn't just pop up organically under Cabbage Patch. It was built. FHA loans, Homestead Act, GI Bill, Social Security, and Social Security didn't originally include us. They had that investment. And wealth in America is determined by land ownership. That's where we're kept from. So you give everybody a check. I'm just gonna be real, Jen. Some folk in ADOS don't want to hear this, Tim. You give everybody a reparations check for $2,500, $3,000 in this economy, and we behind in COVID. You can't invest in them. You can't do nothing with that but catch up on the bills that you ain't being able to pay because of COVID. Real investment is what is necessary to make our community whole. And that's what HR 40 is about. ADOS and I also disagree. ADOS doesn't like me. They want me off the scene. They're working very hard to get me off the scene. But one of the other reasons for that is HR 40 deals with the slavery, with the vestiges of enslavement. What I mean by that is not just about enslavement. It is about slavery's evil offspring. Jim Crow, lynchings, voter suppression,
absolutely,
the mass incarceration system, and the modern day lynching of police violence, the police demic we're in. They would say, well, those people can't prove they were enslaved. Well, see, when the NYPD killed Amadou Diallo, and when they sodomized Abner Louima, they didn't ask them if they were the descendants of enslaved people. All right. So when we talk about reparations, we have to talk about the vestiges and how it impacts all people who look alike. And that's called Black unity. That's called dealing with all of us who are treated the way we are because of what we look like, whether we're born here, whether we're born in the Caribbean, whether we're from anywhere else in the diaspora. I do not support Black nativism. I do not support, I'm a Pan-Africanist, unapologetically. Now, everybody didn't have to agree with that, but ultimately the highest form of Black nationalism is Pan-Africanism. We are the majority in the world. We are the ones that if we would just come together, we would be the mightiest fist on earth. But the goal of the enslavement institution, the goal of the colonization institution was to divide people who look like you and me all over the world so that we would be different from each other and fighting over each other. That's why people fighting about this movie In the Heights. Where did people come from? All them people down there were indigenous or African. The white man comes and divides them based on skin color. And now they fighting in this movie. We only gonna put light-skinned people in this movie. That's by design. Them people don't even realize you came from Africa. That's where you came from. You didn't come from Spain. You look the way you look. You came from Spain. You wouldn't look like what you look like. All of that is by design. And so we can't compartmentalize our struggle. It has to be holistic. So we can't fight for reparations in a compartmentalized way. We have to fight for reparations for us all. And so HR 40, again, y'all, we ain't been this close. We have 190 co-sponsors. We need 218 to pass in the House. Now, it'll be like every other bill. It go to the Senate where things go to die because of Manchin, Sinema, and the filibuster. We'll deal with them. But it's also like DC statehood. See, you asked a specific question, what do we do? People need to educate themselves on DC statehood. DC becomes 51st state. It will be named after Frederick Douglass, the Douglas Commonwealth, but you'd have 2 senators from the Douglas Commonwealth, most likely Democratic and very likely Black. There's 2 more people in there to kill that filibuster. So people say, well, DC statehood doesn't affect me. Yes, it does. And it's also the oldest form of voter suppression because DC, because it's Black, because its mayor was Marion Barry, DC is the only capital in the world that does not have representation in its national legislature. So all of these things have to work together for good. We got to get HR 40 passed. We got to get DC statehood passed. If we can get these things done, especially DC statehood in terms of numbers, we can have enough votes to get anything out of the Senate and not allow Manchin and Sinema to prevent us from getting it out. But in terms of reparations, that's where I am. ADOS as a movement, as I said, wants me off the scene. That's been made very clear and stated. But let me just say this. You cannot lead a movement or participate in a movement toward true repair if you're trying to also harm your own sisters and brothers. So there's not been division in the reparations movement up until this time now, with people making the argument, we want to make sure reparations doesn't affect anybody but African Americans, and then only African Americans who can prove that they are an actual descendant of an enslaved ancestor. How many of us are going to be able to prove that? Most of us won't. But there needs to be, it can't just be for those individuals. That can be a part of it. I wouldn't even disagree with that. But it also must include an overall peace, where there is long-term investment in our own community and an opportunity for us to invest in ourselves.
Well, I agree with the investment portion of it. I mean, as you stated, a middle class, white America that's middle class didn't just happen. That happened because deliberate actions made by the government to create this, imagine this idea of people. Because before then, it was just poor whites, rich whites. That was it. I'm not opposed to the idea of other folks being compensated for being enslaved or colonialism, broader term. But I'm trying to understand how America is going to pay. Why would America, if we're talking about compensation from America, reparations from America, why would America be on the hook to provide payment for black people that are enslaved in other countries? I don't understand how that's supposed to work. And wouldn't that not dilute the reparations for Americans or black Americans in this country by including brothers and sisters or black people from other areas who end up in America making this claim of their own volition? Like to me, the whole basis of reparations is people were taken from their land, kidnapped or sold into slavery here. We're talking about people that traveled here from after post-slavery. Yeah. How are they part of that?
But what I'm saying is slavery on its own is not just the thing. There are vestiges of slavery. So the way in which people with black skin are discriminated against today, it flows from slavery.
Gotcha.
So it wouldn't even be so much. Again, that's why the check piece gets complicated. You know, if you listen to what I'm saying, I'm less about the check than I am about the overall repair. Reparations is not just about money. There's a whole restorative justice process. It is about true healing and repair of our community. So again, that includes investment. That includes a whole lot of other things. Mm-hmm. Now, if somebody were to say, well, we're only going to give an actual physical check to a certain group of people, that may be the case. But you can't negate that people who come to this country, wherever they come from, who look like you and me, have been killed, have been lynched, have been discriminated against because of this country's roots in enslavement. So what do? You just say, well, we just going to hook up those who were enslaved and ignore all those who are still suffering because of what was really begun under slavery?
But I don't know where to go. Like often, now Mrs. Black, my wife, I've been with her 30 years, almost 30 years. We're coming up on our 30-year anniversary. And often when these things kick off, man, she looked me in the eyes, Rev, and she's like, where can we go? Where can we go? We don't know where to go. We don't have any place to go to. That's a difference that cannot be denied. Those other folks who come here, and I'm not negating that. You're right. When the cop pull you over, you look black, you black. And I don't care where you're from and how long you've been here. But that's, to me, is still different. I think we're going to have to agree to disagree. But you have articulated it in a way that does have me thinking about the fact that I do see reparations as more than just slavery. I do see it as segregation, Jim Crow, mass incarceration, the whole lot. I do see all of that. But still, the part that's got me hung and I can't move from this is they have a home. Like same thing with my Asian brothers and sisters. Aside from the Native Americans, these folks, all other folks have a place they can go back to if they wanted to, and they came here under choice.
Well, I would disagree with that to the point where some of these people who leave other countries are forced to come here because of America's foreign policy in those countries. That's a fact too.
That is a fact.
People who come here are often fleeing. Not to mention, brother, think about this. So based on that argument, would you have sent Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, and Shirley Chisholm back home?
Oh, not send them home. No, not send them home.
These are people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, but we can't. So we can't discount the Black experience, the truly African American experience, whether it was from enslavement or any other type of immigration. We can't discount that. Our experience is vast. When we start trying to isolate the African American experience to only those who were enslaved, per se, I mean, I think that
Yeah.
I think that's not a good thing. And that's a nativist argument. I really think that's a native argument. Because otherwise, we have to discard Malcolm, we have to discard Marcus Garvey, we have to discard Shirley Chisholm. There's a whole lot of people
not discard, not discard.
And
but
they made powerful, they made powerful and irrevocable contributions to our struggle here.
Absolutely. Absolutely they did. And I would never discard them or try to deport brothers and sisters here. The way I see it, I think, some people may disagree with me, but I'm saying part of the foundational reparations as I see it and as I speak it, and maybe, I've had Dr. Sandy Dirty on the show, Dr. Derek Hamilton, Dr. Elwood Watson. We've had these conversations. Part of the reason for reparations is the fact of all this wealth that was accumulated in America by free labor, by labor that did not get compensated. And if you take that piece out of it, and if that's not your background, then that fundamentally undercuts the whole idea of reparations, in my opinion, because a lot of people have been jailed or treated inappropriately or their constitutional rights violated. Hell, I mean, I just did a story where a brother, due to qualified immunity, they called the police. The police came. The man called for a psychiatric checkup for the father. The father's threatening to kill himself. He pours gasoline on himself. The cops say, hey, what do we do to stop him? Well, we can't tase him because if we tase him, it'll set him on fire. So they tased him anyway. They set him on fire, and those cops still walk. I mean, and this was a Latino brother, Gabriel Olivas is his name. So there are these types of atrocities going on throughout this country for all types of people. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. I'm not saying there shouldn't be a remedy for that. But that to me is an individual remedy. And now we say it doesn't matter. If we want to look at reparations as a blanket for everything that's happened in America, even post-slavery, and we want to start it at some other point, maybe the 30s or the 40s or 50s, that changes
everything
things.
That's happened to black people. Everything that's happened to black people.
It's still a choice, brother. I get your point. And look, and if Haiti, for instance, like I'm, brother Reverend, I've been hard on the Clintons for Haiti. I've been talking about Haiti for years. And I'm still talking about Haiti because of the atrocities in Haiti and what we've done to penalize them. How our sanctions have crippled them, not just them, Latin America as well. Brother, we can go on like this. This is a huge conversation. But there are remedies I think that need to be done per those countries.
That too,
with our U.S. government.
Why is it not all of the above? Why is it not all of the above? So, I mean, that's what I don't understand. Why would black people start negotiating with themselves about limiting reparations and remedy? Who does that? That's my point. So really, it's not a real intellectual argument. It is a false intellectual argument to get into this nativism question. All right. And I would challenge you, brother, my brother, to look very carefully. And I can send you some information around the origins of the ADOS movement, who created it and who financed it. There is a nativism movement in this country. There is a xenophobic movement in this country, and is now spilled over into the reparations movement. And those who have led that nativist movement and that xenophobic movement now want to apply it to reparations that had never been applied. But there's never been disunity in the reparations movement. And again, we're at a place where we're talking about what proposals might be. So then this false thing gets built up where, we're talking about giving Haitians money that is owed us. We're not even talking about that. What I'm talking about is if you are a black person in America and you have suffered under slavery and its vestiges, you should not be excluded from anything. That's all. And again, when we really think about it, the check piece gets complicated because then the argument that Sandy is making about proving an enslaved ancestor, most of us couldn't meet his criteria to begin with. So when you start playing that numbers game, you start minimizing, you start shrinking the population. So what kind of black man am I to talk about reparations and remedy? And I start talking about, we got to shrink it. Can't be everybody. It can be a few people. Who does a class action suit and then negotiates against themselves about the number of people in the class action suit? Who does that? It's a niche though. I can sell a book. I can make myself popular. I can make a false intellectual case so that somebody will consider putting me on the commission. But most of us been in this for years, brother. I didn't just get here on reparations. Most of us been in this for years, and we didn't get into it for ego or vanity or to push a book or to put our name in lights.
Whoa.
I'm just gonna leave it.
Yeah, I appreciate it though, because you are the first person, Reverend, and we didn't plan this, y'all. The first person that I've had on the show, not because I'm cherry picking, I had never heard the argument, to be honest with you. And there's gonna be people, well, you never heard this? I hear people talk about peer reparations. I haven't dug into exactly what they're articulating when they say that. I think I now get it. Peer reparations, because there's been some criticism they've been leveling out to some other folks that I admire, appreciate. But you are the first person to articulate that other side of the equation. And I always thought some of it was based in the unlikelihood of this happening, the enormity of the reparations package, and the pushback we're going to get from America to do anything. And I thought that was the way I was looking at it. But if you're saying there's some undertones or something different, you say nativism, you say some other sectors have an influence, and that's something I should definitely check out. And I'm definitely open to that.
Yeah, I'll share an article with you, and later on, if you want to share with the audience, feel free. But check this out. Again, though, the resistance really makes no sense. H.R. 40 would establish a commission that would then engage the community with public hearings about what the community thinks is best for what reparations is. Why would anybody want to stop that? We're not at the point of a dollar amount yet. We're at the point of determining what that dollar amount would be with the input of the community, Brother Tim. So why would anybody want to stop that? Well, whose real agenda would it be to stop that other than to do a stealth move? Well, we're going to pretend like we for this, but we really want to stop it while we tweet about how Donald Trump isn't the worst thing that happened. I'm ADOS, but I support Donald Trump. You feel me?
Yeah, that's...
So what do we know about the past couple of election cycles? Divide and conquer the Black electorate. And so you got troll after troll. You've got legitimate and fake Black accounts. We're against this. And the Black community is more targeted when it comes to trolling and misinformation and disinformation than any other group of people, any other group at all. I stand on that, brother. I stand in the name of God on that and against those who are deliberately trying to divide our community with falsehood and misinformation, whether they be real or fake. I stand on righteousness against that foolishness. So folks need to think long and hard. If somebody is trying to minimize those or decrease or subtract from those who would benefit from reparations, one, and two, trying to undermine a democratic process that would go out in the community and talk, not me and you, but talk to some of your listeners, Tim Black, and viewers about what reparations really ought to mean. Anybody who's trying to stop that, y'all better look real carefully at who they are and what they're really up to and who their friends are and who's replying to their tweets and what right-wing stars are retweeting them like Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter don't retweet me. Ann Coulter don't retweet you, I don't think, and I don't think you want that.
Not interested.
Right?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. Yeah. I understand your point. I get it. And we had to be aware of the nefarious attempts of, to dilute. Yeah, I get that. And it's going to be some interesting conversations after this, man. You came and you burnt it down, Reverend. I mean, this is going to be something. But you know what? It's a conversation that needs to be had. I'm expecting to get some phone calls, and people are going to want to come on and by proxy debate your your point of view, and I'm here for it because that's what the platform's for. You just participated in the Tulsa a march on Manchin.
Well,
a march on Manchin. Do you want to get to that, or you got something else you want to do?
No, I was just going to say the question around reparations requires unity. And right now, the unifying principle should be H.R. 40, because that's the legislation where really all of this could be debated. All of this, all the proposals, all the ideas, who should benefit and who shouldn't. That really is the clearinghouse. Because it's not about it's not a bill that says Mark's plan for reparations will be the plan. It's a bill that says we will look at what everybody has to say, what everybody has to offer, and also consult with the community. So really, folks ought to, put their weapons down and support that, especially when we got almost 200 codes. Now, see, we can go to the bank then and say, hold it, this passes the House. What you gonna do, Manchin? And just continue to build a case against that devil and be unified against him. But we can't even unify against that devil. And the other devil, what is a female name for devil? Deviless, deviltress, I don't know, wicked witch, and unify against Manchin and Sinema. Because we want to prematurely debate what's the reparations going to be. No, we just get the bill, then we can debate it in the commission. No, we can't do that. We got to finalize today what it's going to be. We don't know. It's complicated. It's a lot. Man, they owe us so much money, it's unreal. They owe us so much land, it's unreal. You and I can't figure that out on the phone, on this call, on this Zoom.
Right.
So let's have a commission with people we all respect and deal with it, and then unify against these devils that are trying to stop it. I would hope people would want to be about that and stop, trying to use this as an opportunity to push a book or to push some white nativist organization or to push, all kinds of other attacks against their own people. Why would we do to one another what the white man has done to us in this fight for reparations? Why would we attack one another? Why would we be out here trying to tear down one another when that's all he's done to us and we're feeding into his agenda? I'm through.
Hey. Let them know how you really feel, Reverend. Let them know how you really feel. Before you go, brother, I did want to ask about this march on Manchin. Now, my point of view on Manchin, I'm not totally convinced that this is some type of play. They got this guy getting in the way of legislation. This Republican, which is really what he is. I'm not convinced that he's not doing what the Democrats want him to do or something. I mean, if it wasn't Manchin, somebody else would step up to become Joe Manchin. I mean, they would want the limelight, and all they got to do is, drag their feet on bills. And now, hell, man, I hear his name almost as much as I hear Joe Biden's name.
More. It's like he's the president.
So that is a very favorable position to be in for somebody from a senator from West Virginia no one gave a damn about in one of the most poor states in the country.
Hey, bro, let me be real with you. I went down there when Reverend Bobby talks about the Poor People's Campaign and what when you go to West Virginia, white people hit you different. That made the regular white folk y'all think out here doing well. Folks down there doing bad, and they came out against that no good son of a gun. They came out to demonstrate against him. White folks right there. Now, you have an interesting point, but here's the problem. Let's do the math on that. Is he doing something that secretly some Democrats want him to do? The problem with that is the Democrats actually like power. They want to be in control. So why would they encourage someone to do something that's going to force them to lose the Senate? Every president wants to be the greatest president. This man, one dude, is mucking up Joe Biden's agenda. Now, if you were the president and I was one man mucking up your agenda, then folk like they already doing like ADOS would be coming for me. I mean, how does this one dude do that? Is very curious. I think he literally, just from looking at it objectively, he has Joe Biden and them say, dude, please. And I've seen it. It's really the institution. That's the problem with the institution, Brother Tim. This is an institution that was created, again, a vestige of slavery. So the plan was to give an institution and to give certain white individuals from certain states in that institution utter and enormous power. And that's what Joe Manchin is exploiting. Nancy Pelosi called everybody, please don't beat him up too bad. We might be able to get him to do something. And folks was like, no, we ain't gonna be polite to him. So the compromise was, okay, we'll get food 48 hours. Everybody be quiet 40 hours. Let's just be nice. I mean, we'll be human. Let's be nice. Be quiet. Let's see what he's gonna do. Nothing. Lit him up. Went on down to West Virginia. Now we waited. Everybody was polite. Y'all said y'all had him, and he lied to y'all and reneged on y'all to do. He's just no good. And he's racing around, driving them down the streets in West Virginia. This is real, man. I'm talking to real people on the street, white folks. Ain't got no money to get the teeth fixed. They using meth. One of the cities in West Virginia is a doggone heroin capital.
Yes.
Now, we the ones associated with drugs. Them people doing so bad down there, man, they own everything. The man is racing up and down the street with folks with drugs, heroin, no teeth to him, in a Porsche, peeling out, spinning through intersections. He just having a ball. So see, again, here's what Dr. King said, and LBJ said, you white folks got to understand when you being exploited. See, all y'all mad at us, you were distracted by racism, but y'all ain't getting no real minimum wage. Y'all ain't getting no health care. Y'all ain't getting no benefits. You don't have nothing. And they keep telling y'all it's because of us and they hate us. So you can end up doing as bad as you are. See, one day, some of the white folks are going to listen to Dr. King and say, hold up, time out. Wait, this don't make no sense right here. And then watch this. Even realize, going back to reparations, when the economy is bad for one of us, it's bad for all of us. If we had real power in the economy, everybody would go up. Oh, we hate niggas. We can't have niggas with no reparations. But y'all doing bad in West Virginia because we don't have nothing. And this man is running to the bank with all that. It's also blasphemous because you know how West Virginia was founded? It was founded to split away from Virginia and leave the Confederacy and become a free state. So I hear you, and you made me think for a minute, well, maybe he's doing, but I'm thinking to myself, do the Democrats want to lose the Senate? Now, if they lose the Senate, oh my God, look what happened. Let me tell you something, man, them judges that they got in there. First of all, let me tell you what the Republicans did. They have so many judges in place, Tim. It wouldn't matter if they never won the House, the Senate, or the White House again for another 40 years because they control the judiciary. So that's why they're not tripping. Think about that. You control the whole judiciary. So anything that goes to court, you can overturn, flip, do whatever you want to do. You ain't tripping off no White House and the House and Senate. They've already got that. So the Democrats would be foolish. And again, I think they still are. They're going to have to make a decision. All this Colin Manchin, be cool. Let's not piss him off.
There you go.
When did he become a god that we have to tiptoe around and whatnot? You the first white woman Speaker of the House and you scared of him? I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to her, but I'm like, what is this dude? Everybody got something on him. Everybody. Y'all need to, whatever y'all got on that dude, y'all better put it on the table. We all got something.
Right.
They come get you and me any day of the week. You mean to tell me this dude ain't got nothing on him that they can't squeeze to make him act like he has some sense? I mean, you got white. I'm out here marching the streets with white folks with no teeth in West Virginia, Tim.
I supported Paula Swearingen. Both times she ran this. She ran for Congress and when she ran for the Senate. I know they need change in West Virginia. I have friends in West Virginia. So
unreal,
brother. Unreal. And you're absolutely right about the opiates. Absolutely right about the opiates.
You know how you go some places and you go there to do something, but you end up actually just sitting and listening to folk. I got down there, man. Them folk pulled me up and said, let me tell you what's going on in West Virginia. I'm sitting there like, whoa. And they said, now this man comes down the street every day in a Porsche.
Showing his ass.
That dude, man, I don't even know how he could like me. You probably like, Tim, I want people to like me. I want to be liked. I don't want to be an asshole like he is. And everybody hate me. But he seems to be comfortable with that, with treating people the way he treats them and getting away with it. And it's absolutely ridiculous. And he's riding off of this. Well, if you don't take me, you're going to get a Republican. Well, whatever.
We already got a Republican if we got you, motherfucker. So what's the difference?
Right.
What's the difference? Reverend Mark Thompson, thank you for putting up with my language and putting up with the and being here and talking to my audience. Tell people where to go to check out more of your content and your show.
Well, thank you for inviting me on here and forgive me for carrying on. I want unity between our people. I want no beef between any of us. ADOS and his leadership declared a beef with me. I've not retaliated, and I have borne most of the scars of that beef. I'm still standing. That's okay. You know, you do what you have to do for your people, but people need to cut it out right now. We need to close ranks around this bill, Tim. We will never get another opportunity to be this close to getting a reparations bill passed. And I know the people, not just ADOS. There's some other Negroes who scared. We can't have no reparations, Mark. That's like defund. I'm fighting them Negroes too. You know, it's going to scare everybody away. No, y'all ignorant and shut up. And these are some of the people who are even, wait a minute, bro, listen. There are people, let me tell you how the politics is. There are people who are even co-sponsors on the bill because they know what they look like if they're not a co-sponsor. But behind the scenes, put that bill to the floor. And so why are you a co-sponsor, Mushmouth Uncle Tom? Why are you a co-sponsor of something that you scared to bring to the floor? Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. Folks, makeitplain.com, Make It Plain with Mark Thompson, wherever you get your podcast. I appreciate my brother for bringing me on here to catch. I have guests on my show. When you were hosting, you interviewing guests, you can't carry on like you were guest. So I come on here and probably carry on more today than I have on my show in a while because I'm always interviewing other people. So Tim, it's very brave of you to let me come on here and cut up this way. But brother, I thank you folks joining us. And Tim, happy to join you anytime, brother. And I'm going to have you on with me too, okay?
No doubt, brother. Thank you for your candid conversation, man. And this is what they need to hear, guys. Go to check out Mark. Don't forget to Make It Plain podcast. I'll see you on the next show. Wolfpack.
Most news shows are suspect. They don't focus on Black issues, and when they do, it's all fluff. How does that help your life? How does that help your family? How does that help the culture? They don't. The Tim Black Show is different. Tim Black gives you news for people who can't stand the news. Real, authentic, researched, entertaining, on point. Don't let nobody take your cornbread. Visit www.timblacktv.com today. Get Black breaking news, politics, culture from someone you can trust. timblacktv.com. Join us today.